Between 1971 and 1973, the FBI ran an operation called CHESROB. It was named after Assata Shakur, also known as Joanne Chesimard. Its stated purpose was investigating bank robberies. Its actual purpose was to tie Assata Shakur to virtually every crime committed by a black woman on the East Coast of the United States. Every bank robbery, every armored car heist, every violent incident involving a woman. If the suspect was black and female, CHESROB flagged Assata. This was part of the broader COINTELPRO strategy that targeted black activists like Fred Hampton and other members of the Black Liberation Movement. The operation produced 10 indictments, 7 criminal trials. The charges included 2 bank robberies, the kidnapping of a Brooklyn heroin dealer, and the attempted murder of 2 Queens police officers. 3 trials ended in acquittal, 3 indictments were dismissed before trial, 1 ended in a hung jury, 1 ended in a mistrial because Assata was pregnant. 6 times the FBI and NYPD tried to make their charges stick. 6 times they failed because the evidence did not exist. Then came the New Jersey Turnpike, May 2nd, 1973, and this time they got their conviction, not because they found the evidence they had been looking for. They did not need it. They found something better, a legal mechanism that did not require evidence at all. This is the story of how Assata Shakur was convicted of murder when every piece of forensic evidence proved she did not fire a gun, and the only eyewitness admitted under oath that he had lied about everything. 12:45 a.m. on the New Jersey Turnpike. Troopers James Harper and Werner Forrester pulled over a white Pontiac Le Mans with Vermont plates. Inside were Assata Shakur, Zaid Malik Shakur, and Sondiata Akoli. The official reason was a broken taillight. What New Jersey Turnpike radio communications tapes later revealed was that 2 additional patrol cars, driven by Trooper Robert Palanchar and by Trooper Forrester himself, had already been ordered to back up Harper at the stop before any shooting started. A shootout erupted. When it ended, Trooper Forrester was dead. Zaid Malik Shakur was dead. Trooper Harper was wounded, and Assata had been shot twice. The first bullet entered under her raised right armpit, severed her median nerve, shattered her clavicle, and lodged in her chest so close to her heart that surgeons could not remove it. The second bullet hit her in the back. She was dragged from the car by troopers and taken to Middlesex General Hospital. Now here is where the forensic evidence starts. This is what every other video about Assata Shakur either skips or mentions in passing. This video will not skip it because the evidence is the entire story. The New Jersey State Crime Laboratory in Trenton and the FBI crime labs in Washington, D.C. both examined every gun and every piece of ammunition recovered from the scene. They ran fingerprint analysis on all of it. Assata Shakur's fingerprints were not found on any weapon, not on any ammunition, not on any piece of evidence recovered from the turnpike that night. The official analyses were admitted into evidence at trial. Neutron activation analysis was administered at the hospital immediately after Assata arrived. It tests for gunpowder residue on the hands of a person who has recently fired a weapon. The result was negative. No residue on either hand. This test was also admitted into evidence. It effectively refuted the possibility that Assata had fired a gun. Neurosurgeon Dr. Arthur Turner Davidson, Associate Professor of Surgery at Albert Einstein College of Medicine, examined Assata on August 4th, 1976, and reviewed the x-rays taken at Middlesex General Hospital immediately after the shootout. He testified that the wounds in her upper arms, armpit, and chest, combined with the severed median nerve that instantly paralyzed her entire right arm, could only have been caused if both of her arms were raised at the time she was shot. He stated that to sustain these specific injuries while crouching and firing a weapon, as Trooper Harper had described in his reports, would be anatomically impossible. The prosecutor, John J. Barone, challenged Davidson. He had a female sheriff's attendant stand up and act out his theory. He suggested Assata was struck in the right arm and collarbone, then spun around by the impact so a second shot entered her upper left arm. Davidson's response was one word: impossible. Dr. David Spain, a pathologist from Brookdale Community College, testified next. He examined Assata's bullet scars and the x-rays. His conclusion matched Davidson's. He said there was no conceivable way the first bullet could have hit Assata's clavicle if her arm had been down. The medical evidence was unanimous. Both doctors agreed she was shot with her arms raised. Then Judge Theodore Appleby cut off funds for any further expert defense testimony. Assata's attorneys could not afford additional forensic specialists, and most forensic and ballistic experts declined to testify anyway because they routinely performed work for law enforcement and said it would be a conflict of interest. The defense had presented its best scientific evidence. The judge made sure it could not present any more. Now, the prosecution's star witness, Trooper James Harper, the only surviving law enforcement eyewitness to the shootout. Harper filed 3 official investigative reports after the incident. In all 3, he swore that Assata reached into a red pocketbook on the floor of the car, pulled out a gun, and shot him from inside the vehicle. He said she then got out of the car and fired at him from a prone position on the ground. He said Forrester yelled at him and held up an ammunition clip right before the shooting started. Harper testified to this same version under oath before a grand jury. Then he took the stand at Assata's trial. Under cross-examination, Trooper Harper admitted that he had lied in all 3 of his official reports and in his grand jury testimony. He admitted Forrester never showed him an ammunition clip. He admitted Forrester never yelled at him. He admitted he did not see a gun in Assata's hand while she was seated in the car. He admitted she did not shoot him from inside the vehicle. And he admitted the red pocketbook never existed. The prosecution's entire reconstruction of the shooting, the version they had presented to the grand jury, the version that formed the basis of the indictment, collapsed on the witness stand. Their only eyewitness confessed to perjury under oath. Assata was convicted anyway. Here is how. The jury that decided Assata's fate was seated in Middlesex County, the same county where a 1973 jury pool had been so contaminated that Judge Leon Jarofsky granted a change of venue. He said it was almost impossible to obtain a jury willing to accept the responsibility of impartiality. 70% of potential jurors already believed Assata was guilty. The trial was moved, but 4 years later, in 1977, Assata was tried in the same county. 5 of the jurors selected were either relatives or close personal friends of New Jersey state troopers or other state law enforcement officers. That information came from Assata's defense attorney, Lennox Hines, who documented the jury composition. Judge Appleby's charge to the jury was the final mechanism. He instructed them that under New Jersey's aiding and abetting statute, Assata's mere presence at the scene of the crime, combined with the presence of weapons in the vehicle, was sufficient to sustain a conviction for the murder of Trooper Forrester. She did not have to fire the shot. She did not have to touch a weapon. She did not have to do anything except be in the car. There were no fingerprints on any weapon. There was no gunpowder residue on her hands. A neurosurgeon testified that her injuries showed her arms were raised. A pathologist confirmed it would have been impossible for her arm to have been down. The prosecution's only eyewitness admitted he fabricated his entire account, and the judge told the jury that none of that mattered because her presence alone was enough. On March 25, 1977, the jury convicted Assata Shakur of first-degree murder, second-degree murder, assault, armed robbery, and 4 other felonies. She was sentenced to life in prison plus 26 to 33 years. CHESROB ran for 2 years before the Turnpike stop. Under J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI created CHESROB specifically to connect Assata Shakur to crimes she did not commit. They produced 10 indictments. The courts threw out 6 of them. The 7th, the only one that stuck, was built on perjured testimony, a stacked jury, and a legal mechanism that required no evidence of her participation at all. The same accomplice liability theory that convicted Assata Shakur, the idea that mere presence equals guilt, has been used in criminal cases across America ever since. It is the mechanism prosecutors deploy when they cannot prove someone pulled the trigger but want the conviction anyway. It was used in felony murder cases throughout the 1980s and the 1990s. It has also been used against protest organizers charged with conspiracy for being present at demonstrations that turned violent. Assata escaped from the Clinton Correctional Facility for Women on November 2, 1979. 3 people walked in with fake IDs and concealed weapons. The guards did not check them. She was driven out in a prison van. The hostages were released unharmed. She surfaced in Cuba 4 years later. In 2005, the FBI doubled the bounty on her to $2 million. New Jersey State Police Superintendent Rick Fuentes said she was now 120 pounds of money. In 2013, the FBI added her to its most wanted terrorist list. She became the first woman ever placed there. That is the same list that includes Taliban commanders and Hezbollah leaders. The designation came 40 years after the Turnpike. An international panel of 7 jurists who toured American prisons cited Assata's case as one of the worst examples of human rights abuses of political prisoners, calling her a victim of FBI misconduct through the COINTELPRO strategy, including provocation, false arrests, entrapment, fabrication of evidence, and spurious criminal prosecutions. Angela Davis, the prominent civil rights activist, identified Shakur as a political prisoner as early as October 1973, shortly after the conviction. The Church Committee's later congressional investigation into FBI's activities would validate these claims of systematic targeting of black activists. Assata Shakur died in Havana on September 25, 2025. She was 78. She had lived free in Cuba for 41 years. The FBI never recaptured her. The $2 million bounty failed completely. The forensic evidence from her trial is still in the court record. No fingerprints, no residue, both arms raised. The star witness confessed to perjury. The judge told the jury none of it mattered. The conviction has never been overturned.